In modern Valorant, playing as a lurker or a flex isn't just about baiting your team or getting sneaky flank kills. It's a massive mind game. It's about taking map control, creating pressure, and making the enemy team completely paranoid. In this episode, I'm giving you the ultimate flex masterclass across 3 different maps. First, we're heading to Abyss. Now, everyone thinks Breach is a niche pick, but his ability to take aggressive space is totally underrated. After that, we'll break down the silent lurk of Viper on Split to show you how to make pressure without even shooting your gun. Finally, we'll wrap up on Haven to show you how Killjoy can dictate enemies' lurkers and also give you info on defense. If you want to become the smartest player in the lobby, stick around and we'll show you how. What's up, everyone? I'm Zellsis from Cloud9 and you're watching ZOWIE Esports Academy. Now, Breach is an unpopular pick in ranked and in pro play, but he shows an advantage in a narrow map like Abyss. For me, with initiators on the flex role, I feel like any agent that you can combo a lot of util in a narrow space is very strong. Breach, for example, on Abyss, you can stun and shock and flash almost the same area and cover the whole side of one map. Something I like to do is stun in the front and let my teammates kind of worry about this angle here on the back, just because it's a more easier angle for your teammates and they don't have to swing close. So what I like to do is stun like this, straight down, jump down with your teammates. Now you can also flash through the wall as well, but you want to be careful that you don't flash your teammates because that would be really bad. But how I like to do it is stun like that, or even stun closer, depending on what kind of breach you are. Stun closer, and then aftershock eat like so. So they have to either eat the stun or they have to eat the aftershock. And you can also pair it with a flash as well, so it will blind all of this back angles. And a cute little trick that you can do with Breach is in your aftershock, when you aftershock, you can actually hide your flash as well, because it's kind of the same colored util. And if they don't hear it because of the aftershock, that's also a plus for you. All right, so a couple different util sets that you can do on Breach to take a main is: 1, you need to think about, have they been playing in a main? 2, you need to think about if they have an op. How I like to have my teammates go up is we just walk up and I'll just flash this corner and we can take all this space, which then allows your teammates to kind of run it down, and you can stun left side sight like this, and you can either pair your aftershock with a heaven smoke, or if you know a team or an enemy player has been playing close, you can also aftershock your stun to make your scaling with your duelist much easier. Secondly, if they've been playing on site, you can just flash high like this, and it gets everywhere on site so that your scalers do not get, killed from the side or killed from the back site, which are going to be the focal points of where your teammates need to look and where the enemy team is also going to be. Now, if an enemy team doesn't smoke a main, you want to probably put your flash out here first when you're going up with your teammates, because a very common angle that A players do is sit high-low here, one up top and one down below, so that the enemy team is kind of just running into both. Whereas if you pair this flash with your scalers, then they can't high-low and your teammates should probably kill them very easily. All right, so here I'll demonstrate why Breach is very good on a narrow map like Abyss. We lost Pistol, Louds up 1-0. Losing Pistol is very detrimental to the team. Here, I'm just gonna use basic Breach util, stun, probably aftershock and flash, could be in there on a gun round, but then you're just running it down and swing. You can see here we catch their Sova off with the bomb. That's good for us. Then I'm dumping flashes. Now, we do lose a round, but we get a couple kills and break some armor. So that is a small but big win for a team on an eco round, just by using Breach util. All right, so a couple small things you can do with Breach. You can change up your util in many different ways. Here we're doing a simple A main swing with a flash, so I can keep my stun for left side sight, which is another pair of util that you can do. You can see me running up. You see the stun here on Francis's screen, Oxy's screen, and he's going in and stunning. And then you can do many of different things. You can either aftershock and flashback sight together, or you can save your util for post plant if you have the sight. Here we have the sight. I have no more util, but that is a small way of an A main take into an A to A that you can do with Breach util. I think what makes Viper so strong on Split is that no matter how much you buff her or nerf her, she's always going to be the same agent. Big thing on Split is cutting off info angles and also creating different types of info pressure on different sides of the map, i.e. you can throw your wall on one side and also throw your orb on the other side of the map in the same spot your wall is, allowing you to lurk. Meaning you don't even have to shoot a bullet, you could just put your gas up and put it down and it will cut off certain angles. I'm going to show you guys a couple of different setups on attack that you can do that I like to do. One is a wall here for B. Actually, I like to get up here. And you want to make sure that you're cutting off the default jump spot line. That is the most important thing, because if you do a wall like this, obviously you could see here, he can play in front of it. The key to this wall is making sure he can't play in front of it, and you're cutting off the default angle like so. So if he has to jump in front of it, he has to come more out, and he's going to get shot. Secondly, with this wall, you can pair it with a orb, like I like to do here. I like to line up my the white bar between the molly and the orb right here, the right of it, and you could just left click, and then the same lineup up to this white little dot here, and also left click your molly. So when your team is going B, you can orb plus molly, and it will land, okay, a little bit more right, but it will land for the hell flood so that they can't flood in. Probably the more standard set of util for Vipers, it's your basic wall here. With this, I like to put my crosshair on this little bar here and just aim right in the middle of it, and it should cover everything. You could have several different ways of throwing this orb. You can throw an actual passive lineup, so if they're punishing you, I jump into this corner here on the flower pot, aim at the bottom right of this green square, 1, 2, 3, the third one, bottom right, and just left click. And there you have a very basic but simple and effective orb and wall. And they can't do anything. Here with this key, why you want to do this orb, they can't jump spot over, and also they can't play in this corner, so if they do, they're getting decayed, and you can walk up into it like this, and they can't really see you, and you can clear it. And then you can aim up here and drop the orb, and then go for fights. The second set that you guys can do is if you want to put your orb somewhere else, I like to call this the DRX wall. You go into T-spawn, in this little corner here in T-spawn. I like to put my crosshair kind of up on this little like lip thing here that you see. And as you notice on the map, again, you don't want this gap here so that no one can play in it. You don't want your teammates to have to clear that. That's a bad wall. So I like to aim a little bit to the right of the corner, and it doesn't leave any sort of gap whatsoever. They can't play there, and it covers everything else. And then with this wall, you have two choices. One, your orb, or actually you have three choices. One, you could save your orb for sight. Two, you can put a mid orb over here to cover male and mid. And usually this orb, you want to use it mainly to get out the mid gas, but you can use it to lurk as well. You see here, it covers male plus ropes, and you can walk up. And the third option is I like to come here and aim to the right of this like white splotch on the wall with these two little orange dents. Just get right up under that, aim at the satellite, the little white splotch on the satellite, and just left click that. This is very effective against oppers and space creating for B, because as you'll see here, it covers heaven plus default. The only angle that you really have to worry about when you're walking up is this one. So you want to make sure when you're taking B space and you're throwing this orb, you're kind of clearing this, being a little bit, being a little bit passive, being a little bit diligent with your timing and your angles. Slicing the pie is how I like to say it. And then you kind of hard clear this. Now you don't want to keep your orb or wall up for too long. You want to make sure you have gas for your lurk. Now let's say you clear this, you orb up, your B is orb. You can have different many options. You can walk out here to new box. You can take the 1v1 on the default guy, or something I like to do is just get like a little bit left to this, because a lot of players will play backside, and you can kind of just jump up here and like drop the orb out here, look over it. Many different things you can do. You should just test your own with the orb. So here we're doing a Viper wall on B. It cuts off the jump spot default line, which is very strong. It creates pressure for the B player and for the mid players, because if you put the wall up, this B player has to use his paranoia, both his smokes, they have to rotate over. They have to be very scared of the line because they can't really see through it or over it. They kind of either have to play in front of it or stack behind it, which in this case, you see Lev is stacking behind it. Now, we have 4 here. We're going to put a lot of pressure with the wall to make this guy use his blind. As you can see here with the smoke, we put a little bit more pressure. He's jump spotting with the blind. There's still 3 here. We realize that. We go back. But the good thing about Viper Wall is that, 1, you can see I'm not even here. My team is. And 2, you can always come back and use the wall if you need to later in the round. All right, so as you can see here, I'm using what you would call a default setup on attack for Viper on A. You the wall, the orb, and then you kind of just play back. You don't really want to give your life away right away. You kind of want to see what the defense is going to do. Here, I'm not even shooting a gun. Applying the pressure without shooting is always nice. They go for a waylay play. I punish it. It's just pretty simple, you know, and then you still have your orb and your wall there. So all my job is now as Viper is to stay alive and just create question marks and gather info. To be a well-rounded Sentinel, you want to make sure you have two things. Either one, you're gathering info for your team, or two, you're aggressively taking space with either your alarm bot or your turret. Those are the two main things that you want to get. Info or denial. When you play Killjoy, that is the biggest thing because you want to create question marks for the enemy team, but you also want to create answers for your team, finding out where the enemy team is going. Now, first, this is probably the most basic turret in the game, but it's very easily breakable. So you need to be smart when you're putting it. You put it down, now a team is going to start defaulting and breaking it very easily, so you want to make sure that you're changing it up if they're doing that. But this turret gets along C and garage, allowing you to put your alarm bot for B. And then you should also be able to play in between because as you see, Killjoy has certain spots she can play because of the utility circle on the map. So I like to play around garage, I like to play around C. Mollies you can kind of put anywhere. I like to change up my mollies. I like to start by putting them on entrances, like so. Put one top C, maybe one in garage if you're playing for garage. I like to do mollies like that until they start breaking them. And then you can start putting more passive ones, like here on site default, or even for neons or jets when they're sliding through garage, you can have a deep molly as well. So when you're taking a fight like this and they slide or dash in, you can kind of molly the smoke or their wall, allowing for you to kill them easier. So that's kind of my CB setup. Again, if they're breaking your util, then you can do this same turret for C. What I like to do is this, and then also alarm bot deep with a smoke. So there's several layers that they have to break. One, they have to wait for the smoke. Two, they have to break the turret first, and then three, they have to walk up to break the alarm bot. So it's a couple of safer ways and more info gathering when they're breaking your util so that you actually know if they're there, because then that allows for your teammates to rotate. On B, if you want to set up like an aggressive setup, I like to put my turret and two mollies on these little corners, these orange corners here like so. And you can kind of wait for the turret to go off. Obviously, if a neon wall comes through or a smoke or they break the turret, then you kind of have to spot or play off your intuition. But let's say turret goes off, double molly, and you need to pick which side you want to fight, or you can also just kind of sit back here with the mollies, because as you can see, the mollies cover a very large area of space, and they have to push. So here, they can't really sit on the sides. All they can do is sit kind of in front B, or because they're diving and taking the site, they have to run through them, which allow you to kill very easy. On this one, your alarm bot should probably be in garage, just because you can't really put it C because it'll go down, and you don't want your util to go down. It's very important. You want to make the enemy team second guess themselves or put question marks on the map. Now, for A, several setups you can do. One of my favorites is putting your turret in the corner of paint. I call this paint. And it allows, so if they're coming up through here, it's shooting them as they're scaling, and you can kind of just sit. Now, where your mollies go is going to depend on you and what the duelists are scaling like, but you can start the game with a turret there, alarm bot here, and I like to put double mollies on long to start the game, just because if they run through and get hit by the alarm bot, then they're taking chunk damage from the molly here on long, and then the turret is a second piece here where it's shooting them, and then the second molly is coming in, so they can't really scale, and if they do run through it, they're probably going to die, which is a good thing for you. Okay, so here you can see I have a double setup on A, my alarm bot plus my turret and a molly behind it just in case they look to pop, which as you can see, Loud is looking to do here. They break my alarm bot, we have the info. Sadly, they break my molly, but we have the Viper molly to tell us, or to cut off the angle, which a KJ molly still does. But we still have our turret, meaning if they don't go in, then we still have a piece of line info with your turret, so they can't be sewer. So we know they can only be long. Oxy is down mid, so he has their fallback. But all we have to do is now focus on long, me and Viper, because our turret has sewer, and we can play off of it, we can swing off of it. We don't really have to do anything, to be honest. Usually on KJ, your util is going to do the work for you. So right here, it's just very basic. We're playing off the turret and then playing for info, where the KJ turret is not. Thanks for tuning in to ZOWIE Esports Academy. I hope you guys learned some great tips today. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Also, let us know down below in the comments what else you guys would like to learn, and also strive for perfection.